Tai sveiki visi, toliau tęsiam neredaguotą pokalbius ir aišku, šiandien aptarsim, kiek vėluodami, bet vis tiek aptarsim tą žinią, kuri Lietuvoje pasiekė mus praeitą savaitę ir iš tikrųjų sukėlė daug diskusijų. Tai yra generolo Ben Hodžeso kai kurie teiginiai apie Lenkijos kariuomenės teisinius aspektus ir po to, aišku, pas mus buvo ir Donaldas Tuskas, ir mūsų premjerė Ingrida Šimonytė komentavo. Šiandien mes pakalbėsim su ekspertu, su teisininku, su Strategy and Future think tanko įkūrėju, milijoninius tiražus parduodančių autorių Jaceku Bartosiak ir išsiaiškinsim, kaip ten iš tikrųjų yra. So, Jacek, I was introducing you that you're a lawyer, a best-selling author, and of course the co-founder of the think tank. Is there anything else that you're doing currently with that we should mention?
Basically, we're doing war simulations in the Pacific and in Central and Eastern Europe. We're having war as we see, and we're monitoring closely what's going on, and we try to predict future, strategy and future.
Absolutely. So we're kind of talking here about the future in this short interview that we're going to have. Basically, it all started that we had a forum, a forum where the ex-military officers were joining in Vilnius, and there were talks about, the Ukraine, about the national defense, about regional defense, about NATO. And General Ben Hodges, who was in charge of Europe and Africa, when he was, in the active military service, he pointed out that it's not so not so straightforward in terms of if there is some kind of crisis, military crisis, or a hybrid attack, or some other attack in Lithuania. The Polish forces are not legally allowed to basically step into the other country, even if it's a neighbor. And what is more important, that they would not allow the forces that are stationed, in Poland, in terms of U.S. forces to enter Lithuanian territory. So then later we had, of course, Donald Tusk visiting here, and he was, of course, very philosophical. He said that everything is fine. Our, defense ministers will get into the details, but rest assured that all is fine, and there is no actually need to worry. So since you are the expert on topics like this, how does the whole thing of Polish military and its deployment, somewhere outside Poland works if we have some kind of Article 5 incident, let's say in the Vilnius region or somewhere else? How would it play out in terms of Polish forces?
Okay. Perfect question. Ben Hodges, by the way, is a good friend of mine, and we spent many days now with some simulations while he was still a U.S. Army Europe commander, and we were in Lithuania and Latvia and elsewhere in Estonia. And Poland, of course, doing all those simulations, including the quick movement of and deployment of troops from Wilhelmshaven in Germany and through the Suwałki Gap to the Baltic states. So he knows what he's saying generally, but I think he was misunderstood, or maybe he misrepresented something in terms of the legal bans, because there are none. I mean, Polish military is not prohibited from deployment to Lithuania and other local states. But, and here starts bad news, but it's a much more complex thing. First of all, is that Article 5 is not automatic, and I think, but at this time already you know that, also in the, okay? So, for many years, we were thinking it's kind of a magic trick, yeah, that, nothing's going to happen to us because the U.S. under its power will come automatically and kill everybody who even wish to threaten us. Of course, it's not the case. So Article 5 introduces the conversation between allies. How can they help the attacked country? And it might take, millennia sometimes too. Plus, they need to have resources and assets, units to do it. And they often don't, especially Europeans, but also the Americans. And you guys are really exposed. This is why Strategy and Future, for many years, and we were being criticized like hell, and we paid our price, for being honest. we were advocating for a completely different NATO posture in the East, especially in the Baltic states. We were advocating for strategy of denial, which means that the forward-basing U.S., especially U.S. troops, they should be right near Daugpilis, in Latvia, right on the border between Latvia and Lithuania, Mitnikai, and elsewhere, protecting the access to Vilnius, to Latvia, to Riga, to Daugpilis, Dneburtia, and also to Estonia. In numbers, so that there is no inch of land that was lost to Russians. But it didn't happen. They are not there. They are not there. The forces that were deployed very often, especially in Lithuania, in stupid places, not on the main axis of advance, they could have been bypassed operationally. They act as a tripwire, that was supposed to let the Russians think fight, but not deny them the capability to really seize the terrain and achieve the operational objective. In my opinion, it was because the United States didn't want to be entrapped in the war in Europe. And that, and that puts you and me in a very, very peculiar situation. As I said, strategy in future, we advocated for change of that for many, many years, and we were being pounded. That's number one, and our Lithuanian brothers should know that, okay? And adjust their strategy to this reality, okay? It's not about nice words.
Well, Jacek, you probably know that the Lithuanians are putting all the eggs now on the German forces.
You shouldn't. Mark my words, you shouldn't. It's the vain expectation. They have no capability to deploy to Lithuania on time. Not to mention political will.
Well, they are saying that they're gonna be ready.
It's a hollow force. Sure, it's a hollow force. Trust your friends in Warsaw. German army is a hollow force. Okay, it's a song of the past. It's a hollow force. Okay, so the Poles are getting ready, and now the problem number two. Military geography of Poland and the Intermarium, including Lithuania. How to say that? Is ensuring that Poles are afraid of protecting Warsaw because of all major land campaigns in the history of humanity. And we need to screen and protect Warsaw. So even we would be more inclined to eliminate Belarus than deploy troops to the Baltic states if there is an imminent threat from Belarus of Kaliningrad Oblast into Poland, into Warsaw, along the Vistula River, along the Bug River, okay, and the Narew River. And it might be so that we will not have sufficient forces to help the Baltic states. And the only land force that is really legitimate here is Polish force. Nothing else, buddy. Nothing else, my friend. Yeah. And I think that we should immediately start preparing our mutual plans. Strategy in future, again, is in favor of forward deploying of Polish troops into Lithuania and preparing rules of engagement. Also to deny Russian the hybrid warfare and to create operational dilemma for the Russians. Strategy in future that I represent is also in favor of the active defense Polish force of the future. Artillery barracks, salvo engagement with the Russians, and eliminating of the Kaliningrad Oblast in case of war. Poles are having money for all that, okay? Our government wants to spend. Of course, the problem is how we're going to spend and whether we're going to really fill the force that is suitable. But there is a will in the society and there is money. Basically, I personally am in favor of discussing with you and the Latvians about some forward, posturing of the Polish army in the Baltic states. But we should also entangle the Americans there, okay? But they don't want to do it. It might be so that will be on our own, you and us. in times of crisis.
So Jacek, there is this question, this change of government in Poland. How did it affect, the whole defense narrative?
It didn't affect too much. Our new prime minister is in favor of that. Our new MLB is in favor of that, and our foreign minister is even more brave, I guess. There is a rumor that he will be a defense commissioner in the European Union, trying to, arrange all the industry might of Europe against Russia. Poles are not pushovers, as you know, and it's irrespective of the government, basically. So even the Polish communists didn't like Russia. So basically, the question is whether we know how to do it organizationally. And of course, there is this curse of the military geography. That take a look at the map. Traditionally, the highway between Warsaw, two capital cities of the old Commonwealth, Vilnius and Warsaw, was through Grodno in Belarus. That's why Suwałki Gap is a choke point that could be easily flanked from both Kaliningrad and Belarus. We were going to have major operational and in that vein strategic dilemma if there is a crisis or war, because probably we would need to secure those both flanks to help you guys. Okay. And maybe this is why Hodges was implying that would be very escalatory. That's why we would not be allowed to do it by NATO. Okay. The NATO guys will stop us from seizing Grodno in Belarus just to make the proper highway to you guys. Okay. And this is the political reality. Okay. Because NATO is a defensive alliance. Poles will be disliked, especially by Germans, that we initiated some offensive actions against the nuclear power. And that puts all of you and us in a very difficult position. We need to think now. We need to deploy now. We need to really construct and build a proper posture, military posture that will discourage the Russians from doing anything stupid. And I'm in favor of that, actually. I'm in favor of deploying some elements of Polish army into Lithuania. I hope that you will not have problems after I say that on this broadcast. Okay. I especially think that Polish troops should stay in Mariupol in Western Lithuania, facing Gushev in Kaliningrad Oblast. I also think that Polish forces should protect the western approaches to the Nemunas River and the Pregola rivers and the Vilnius and Kaunas, basically. And also, I think there should be some elements of Polish army stationing in Mid-Entire in Lithuania, so that the Russian general staff think twice how to deploy against us. Okay, but that would involve heavy talks, political talks between our government. I'm just saying as an independent expert, okay? Just full, sort of the full, not only disclosure, but a full, how to say that, without prejudice to anything else. Yeah, I don't want to be accused of being a sort of the too offensive reminder. Okay? Also, I think that we should prepare our resilience system to all hybrid activity. I also think that Latvia and Estonia, and preferably also Lithuania, should coordinate the defensive measures, especially in the easternmost part of Estonia, speaking of which is opening Latvia to open access by Russians and Estonia. And without coordination between the two states, it's very difficult to defend. Of course, but the best way would be to convince our Western allies to deploy troops right on the border with Russians, okay, and Belarusians, so that they die on day one, okay, with you guys. And that's the best deterrent against Russians. But they don't want it, apparently, okay.
So
Poles are grasp this already,
So I just want to clarify. Let's say we put this topic of Lithuania and the Baltic states aside, but like if you look at the defense from Polish perspective, how crucial is that the Russian forces are not in the Baltic states for you guys in your defense strategy defending, Poland and the capital?
Yeah, I mean, there are three axes of advance on the intermarium military highway. There's the southern way, it's the Ukraine, south of the Pripyat River. There's a medium one, central one to Belarus, over, just north of the Pripyat River, and the swamps of the Polechia. And there is the Baltic States route, which is the most difficult rock terrain. It's a slow motion train there, So your terrain is easily defendable if you do the strategy of denial on the border and properly fortify the border. It's very difficult to move there. So the main outcomes in all general wars in Europe were not on the terrain of the Baltic states, but rather in the plains of Belarus, Western Russia and Ukraine, and Poland. I don't know whether you remember our old Commonwealth Army was always partitioned into two, the northern one and the southern one. And the Lithuanian army was responsible for the central and northern part of it. And the Polish army, the Crown Army, was responsible for things south of the Pripyat marshes and west of the Bug River, so that we could anticipate and split the Russian control and defeat them in detail. So this is, from Polish strategy, you were our buffer zone, along with Ukraine and Belarus. We need you guys to be independent for our own security. It's not that we love you so much. It's not that, it's because we need you to be independent for our own safety, okay? And this is this validates the 500 years long grand strategy of Poland. Principle number one of this grand strategy is Russia must be kept out of the European system. And that's why we have had 19 wars, and that's another one. And we need to keep them at bay behind the wall, behind the influence, without influence on the European system. So we need you guys. We need you guys to be independent. We need you to put up a resistance. We need Ukraine to win, or at least be a burden. And we need preferably Belarus to be independent. Basically, we would also need Smolensk to hold the Smolensk gate as it was in the past. But of course, it's in the 21st century, it's purely theoretically historical discussion. But anyway, this is the military geography is pushing Poland now to become a major power in this part of the world with its power projection capabilities and action defense capabilities in our region, to be a security exporter to you guys. Okay. Now the political question is whether we wanna march this way. That is in the future. We are in favor of that. And there is money for that, I can assure you. The problem is whether we are mature enough organizationally to deliver it. But who else without Poland? Who else is not us? Who else? I know Lithuania historically tended to tilt towards Germany, but they are hollow force guys. They are not non-factor. Not to mention the bonds with Russia.
But there is this argument that Germany, it has the monetary capability to become a force. How would you evaluate that?
They have both the financial capability and the industrial capacity to become a force, but they need to start doing it, and it takes time. But it's true. Once they switch a screw, once they issue the marching orders for the society, they tend to become a military society. And but so far I'm not seeing it happening. Okay, we will see. But we will see how it's gonna work. But at the moment, guys, I wouldn't put too much hope on the German unit in Lithuania. I hope you know that already.
It's very complicated because our government basically regarding Germany, they are saying only about the dead guy, only good things. It's like there is no actual tough discussion about this topic on this topic because it's kind of Germans partnership. Well, you get the idea. This political correctness narrative, which is
but it's always this problem if you have the patron and sort of the junior partner relationship that you are afraid to offend the patron because you're not sure whether he will deliver help in an hour of crisis. But if you offend him now, it might be so that he will not come at all. So you're always in this bizarre situation that you don't want to offend your patron. But the fact is that they're not your patron. Okay, it's simply it's a hollow force. It's a hollow force now. The discussion how much time it will take for them to deploy 2 battalions to Lithuania, it's a joke. It's a joke, guys. Yeah, I mean, it's a joke. And they are stationed in Tukla. Why are they stationed in Tukla? Behind the curve of the river. I mean, what the heck? Who figured it out? Who invented this place? I mean, operationally. I think it's on purpose so that the Germans don't need to fight if there is war. Okay? I mean, in Adaji, in Riga, where Poles and Canadians are stationed, Adaji has to be, taken at war if Riga is to be taken. That's a different story. Yeah, but it was supposed only to be a tripwire. I talked to the Americans who, invented this idea at the Pentagon a few years ago. What was the name of this guy? This Dutch-sounding name, Vik or something, at the Pentagon, and he was, defending it as a tripwire just to increase the escalatory process with Russians, but without full commitment. And we're afraid. It's the American primacy system, so they should, put their skin in the game as well. And, we haven't touched yet the nuclear posture thing, because the Russians are lofting the nuclear arguments in the air. And the Americans didn't provide the proper declaratory policy in place, and they didn't demonstrate nuclear capabilities at the tactical and non-strategic level at the same level of escalation of the actions. And they should reinforce the first strike, the first use. The Americans should say a lot of things these days to make sure that under the nuclear equilibrium, we might modernize conventionally and take on Russians if there is a crisis, even without the Americans, if the Americans want us to do it. But without their solid foundation of nuclear posture equilibrium, it's very even difficult to think about that. So, and the Russians are playing their hands in that respect. Sorry for maybe destroying a lot of dreams of people in our NATO Eastern flank, but this is our role of strategy in future. We ask tough questions, okay? And we are the sons of the Intermarium. We want the Intermarium to be independent of Russia, and it's not a time to playing games, okay? It's tough questions. It's about capabilities, not verbal talks. It's about capabilities. It's capabilities that matters. Intentions may change overnight. Always.
Absolutely.
The U.S. primacy might be gone. The United States power might be ebbing away from Eurasia, and we're here. We will not relocate to our motherland from here.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
And we don't want to live under the Russian yoke anymore.
Okay, Jacek. So just to clarify, so legally there is no issue. There is an issue political and and in terms of military capability.
Yes, and NATO-related fear of escalation, depending how Russia is going to play this game. Yeah, this kind of thing, but not inside internal Polish legally, by disavowing or not allowing the troops to do it. And there are many circles in Poland that think that forward deployment is a good option, and we should take on the Russians. I can tell you more. I think there are, strategy in the future. We also think that we should do 3 more things. First of all, we should, I don't know if you remember from our common history of Commonwealth, we had our mercenaries. We in the past were having our mercenaries in the 70s that really wreaked havoc on Russians, okay, on Muscovite. There was the best mercenaries across Europe in the times of the 30 Years' War, and we were unleashing them like hell, okay? So if the Russians could have those guys, so why don't we? Why don't we? Okay, creating at least the hybrid threat, not the mission, but in case they do something, they might expect retaliation like big hell. Okay, that's just one thing. The second thing is that there is this notion of the Belarusian independent army. There are many Belarusian refugees, people in exile that would like to form a force, and maybe we should do it. Maybe we should form a legion and have a leverage on the Belarusian politics. Yeah? We need to take offensive actions, I wanted to say. Yeah, we can't be reactive. And the third thing is that I hope it's not going to happen, but if Ukraine fails, if it crumbles, okay, because of the financial situation and political stability, there will be thousands, hundreds of thousands of demobilized soldiers, well-trained soldiers. And then, like in our old good Commonwealth of the past, again, we need to register all products, for the sake of Intermarium. Poland, I think, should think about how to make use of them, okay, so that they are not disbanded, demoralized, they don't become thugs, you know what I mean? And that they still are a factor containing Russia or creating operational strategic dilemma for Russians. And this is a key sign of the offensive thinking. I hope that my Lithuanian brothers will not be shocked after hearing about the guys from Warsaw. But, welcome to our destiny, Welcome to our destiny. So that's that's one of the options. And, plus our foreign minister suggested, hinted, implied in D.C. 2 weeks ago, that if the United States fails to deliver weapons to Ukraine and Ukraine crumbles, there will be proliferation of the nuclear weaponry. Okay. And he didn't say about Poland, of course. How would he dare? He was saying about Japan, South Korea, Turkey. I hope you're still with me.
Absolutely. I'm just. It's definitely you have this voice of sobering, probably let's call it like that for some more naive listeners. So just to kind of wrap this up, in your opinion, what are the likely scenarios in terms of time we have to prepare left, and how likely we could see some hybrid operation before the elections in United States? How would you describe this upcoming year, in terms of how alert we should all be?
It will be very much alert and get ready. I think that if Ukraine, everything is contingent upon Ukraine. If Ukraine crumbles, yeah, politically, militarily, then very quickly you're gonna have a threat of use of force against you guys, and some probably diplomatic actions trying to isolate you and impose on you unfavorable terms of action, supported by some maybe hybrid activities. Yeah.
So just to clarify, if Ukraine holds, you think there is no real possibility of some hybrid action?
If Ukraine holds and the NATO kind of a deterrent, however we define it, holds, that and United States credibility holds, then the risk of the hybrid action is diminished greatly. But if it doesn't hold, if Europe doesn't catch up on the US, if the credibility is gone and Ukraine crumbles, the security architecture is gone anyway. Okay, it's gone anyway. We're in a new era. where the strength of the arm and weaponry matters. I think we should get ready for this, undermining actions by the Russians and demanding concessions that would contain our security interests and our economic interests. You Baltic states first, maybe with Poland, or we a bit later. Okay? But our foreign minister said a few days ago that Poland is spending 4% GDP on military. It will spend double of that if need be, and we will eat grass, but we will not become a Russian colony anymore.
Right, Jacek. That's, probably the best news, in terms of European approach towards defense budget. So thank you so much, for spending this half an hour with us and explaining the situation for the Lithuanian viewers. We are really grateful, and hopefully sometime you are visiting Lithuania and we can sit down, with a cup of coffee and have a longer chat. So thanks so much. Thanks everyone who are watching.